You look in the mirror, and everything seems fine. Your arms are lean, your legs are toned. Your BMI is technically normal, but there is that one thing, that stubborn, annoying bulge around your midsection that just won't go away. Most people call it a spare tire. Doctors call it skinny fat. But science? Science calls it a ticking time bomb. What if I told you that the fat sitting deep inside your belly isn't just dead weight? It isn't just some extra energy stored for a rainy day. No, that fat is alive. It is a rogue, toxic endocrine organ that has hijacked your body. It is actively pumping out poisons into your bloodstream every single second of the day. And here is the most terrifying part. Inside that belly fat, a dark biological phenomenon is happening. We call them zombie cells. Technically known as senescent cells, these are cells that refuse to die. They are broken, they are malfunctioning, and they are hungry for your energy. They sit there, huddled around your vital organs, breathing out inflammatory fire. They don't just sit there, they infect the healthy cells around them, turning your internal environment into a wasteland of chronic inflammation. You aren't just carrying a few extra pounds, you are carrying a factory of disease that accelerates aging and shuts down your metabolism from the inside out. But don't panic, because today we aren't just talking about weight loss. We are talking about biological warfare. We are going to show you how to hunt down these zombie cells and reclaim your health using proven, hard-hitting science. The era of just doing more sit-ups is over. It's time for a metabolic reset. It's time to get better. So why is it that you can lose weight in your face, your chest, or even your legs, but your stomach stays exactly the same? It feels like a cruel joke, but the reason is etched into your very DNA. Recent studies on twins have revealed a staggering truth. Up to 80% of where your body decides to store fat is predetermined by your genetics. 80%. That means for many of us, our midsection isn't just a reflection of what we ate last night. It's a biological inheritance. Your genes have drawn a map, and for a huge portion of the population, X marks the spot right at the belly. But here is where it gets interesting, and where the danger levels diverge. Men and women are not created equal in the eyes of metabolism. Men, you are biologically wired to store fat deep inside the abdominal cavity. This is that hard, firm beer belly look. It's almost entirely visceral fat. It's the dangerous kind, packed tightly around your liver and heart. Because of this, men often face higher metabolic risks much earlier in life. Women, on the other hand, usually have a protective shield. Your biology prefers subcutaneous fat, the soft, pinchable stuff under the skin on your hips and thighs. While you might hate how it looks in the mirror, this fat is actually far less toxic. It's an evolutionary energy reserve, not a disease factory. However, there is a massive red alert moment you need to know about. When women hit the milestone of menopause, the hormonal protective gear vanishes. As estrogen levels drop, the body's fat storage GPS recalibrates. Suddenly, that safe, soft fat starts migrating inward, turning into the dangerous visceral fat typically seen in men. The game changes. The risks skyrocket. Understanding this gender map is your first step toward outsmarting your own biology. You aren't just fighting your appetite. You are fighting a genetic code that's been running for thousands of years. But as you're about to see, biology is not destiny. Now that we know the map your genes have drawn, it's time to stop wasting your energy on strategies that simply don't work. We've all seen the late-night commercials promising a shredded six-pack if you just buy this machine or do these 1,000 crunches. But here is the cold, hard scientific truth. You cannot spot-reduce fat. Think about it like this. When you do a sit-up, you are strengthening the abdominal muscles. That's great, but those muscles are sitting underneath the fat. If you build them up without losing the layer on top, your belly might actually look bigger because the new muscle is pushing that fat further out. And you're essentially building a masterpiece and then hanging a heavy, thick curtain over it. To pull that curtain back, we have to change the internal chemistry of your body. And this is where high-intensity interval training, or HIIT, becomes your greatest weapon. Why HIIT? Because your visceral fat, that dangerous deep-seated stuff we talked about, is chemically different from the fat on your arms or legs. It is incredibly sensitive to a specific group of hormones called catecholamines. These are your fight-or-flight signals, like adrenaline. When you push your body into high-intensity bursts, your system floods with these catecholamines. And because visceral fat is packed with receptors for these hormones, it reacts like dry wood hitting a bonfire. It melts away much faster than the stubborn fat under your skin. In fact, research shows that intense intervals can reduce internal belly fat even if you don't see a huge change on the scale right away. But don't just stop at cardio. You need to view your muscles not as vanity projects, but as your primary longevity organ. Your muscle mass acts like a metabolic furnace. It's a living gland that consumes glucose and manages your insulin levels even while you sleep. The more lean muscle you carry, the higher your basal metabolic rate becomes. And you aren't just burning fat during the workout. You are upgrading your body's engine so that it burns more fuel 24/7. To win the war against the belly, we stop targeting the spot and start targeting the system. If exercise is the spark, then your hormones are the control center. You've probably tried to white-knuckle your way through a restrictive diet, relying on pure willpower. But here is the secret. Willpower is a finite resource, but hormones are a biological force of nature. Meet the two masters of your appetite, ghrelin and leptin. Think of ghrelin as the hunger alarm and leptin as the stop sign. When you force yourself into an extreme, aggressive crash diet, you aren't just losing weight. Ban dang fat tin hiu kan kap den nao bo. Research shows that severe calorie restriction can send your ghrelin levels screaming upward by as much as 60%. And at the same time, your leptin drops through the floor. Your brain literally thinks you are starving in the wilderness. This is why the yo-yo effect isn't a failure of character. It is a biological survival mechanism. You can't win a fight against a 60% increase in hunger. But there is another player in this matrix that is even more deceptive. Cortisol. This is the stress hormone. We've all heard of stress eating, but the science goes much deeper. Your visceral fat cells, those toxic neighbors living around your organs, actually have more receptors for cortisol than the fat on your thighs or arms. This means when you are chronically stressed, whether it's from work, traffic, or lack of rest, your body is chemically signaling your fat to migrate specifically to your belly. You could be eating perfectly and exercising daily, but if your cortisol is constantly red-lined, your body will fight to keep that abdominal fat exactly where it is. It's not just about what you eat. It's about what your body thinks is happening in your environment. So how do we break the cycle without triggering the hunger alarm? The answer is volume eating. Instead of shrinking your plate, we are going to change what's on it. And by flooding your system with high-volume, low-calorie foods, think massive bowls of leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, and fiber-rich legumes, you physically stretch the walls of your stomach. This sends a mechanical signal to your brain that you are full. It satisfies the ghrelin alarm without overloading your system with calories. You are essentially hacking your fullness sensors. You get to eat more, feel satisfied, and keep your hormones calm, all while the calorie deficit does the heavy lifting in the background. To lose the belly, we have to stop fighting our biology and start outsmarting it. We have covered the genes, the workouts, and the hormones, but there is one final piece of the puzzle that can destroy all your progress if you ignore it. Sleep. You might think that staying up late to work or scroll through your phone is harmless, but a groundbreaking study from the Mayo Clinic revealed a terrifying reality. In just 2 short weeks of sleep deprivation, participants saw their visceral fat, that toxic belly fat, spike by a massive 11%. Think about that. You could be doing the HIIT workouts. You could be eating the vegetables, but if you are only getting 5 hours of sleep, your body is still manufacturing belly fat at an industrial rate. Sleep isn't just rest. It is the only time your brain can flush out toxins and reset your leptin levels so you don't wake up with uncontrollable cravings. So how do we put this all together? It's time for your 21-day metabolic reset. This isn't a challenge. It's a biological system upgrade. First, prioritize 7 to 8 hours of undisturbed sleep. No excuses. This is your foundation. Second, incorporate silence. Just 10 minutes of meditation or deep breathing daily has been proven to drop your cortisol levels, effectively unlocking those fat receptors we discussed earlier. Third, consider natural allies. Adaptogens like ashwagandha or brahmi act as a chemical shield, helping your nervous system stay calm in a chaotic world. Finally, remember why we are doing this. This isn't about fitting into a pair of jeans by next Friday. This is about your life 10, 20, or 30 years from now. By reducing that visceral fat by just 5% today, you are drastically lowering your risk of chronic disease for a lifetime. You aren't just losing weight, you are gaining time, you are gaining vitality, you are becoming a better version of yourself. It's time to start. It's time to get better.